I finally got my hands on some Jelly Gouache. I've wanted some for a while now, but I could never justify getting it for two reasons. One, I wanted the big color pack and, well, it's more expensive and I'm broke. Number two, I'm not really a watercolor gouache kind of person, so I told myself if I do get them, I have to commit myself to using them so I don't just end up wasting an art supply. So yeah, now that I'm ready to use them, let's go ahead and give it a try. First impressions out the box was that the container holding all the paints was actually pretty heavy, which is cool because it made it feel like an expensive art supply when really it's actually a pretty great price for the amount that you're getting inside. So I got these paints off of Amazon. If you just look up Jelly Gouache, you'll get it right away. This is the 56 color set and it was $53. Upon doing that math, that means that each jelly cube is about 95 cents each. The cover of the paint container has these handles on it so you could take it to go and paint in nature or whatever. And then the inside has like this nice cushion, I'm guessing to keep the paints from kind of like popping out inside, and also vacuum, quote unquote vacuum sealing it so the paints don't dry out as quickly. It also came with these two postcards inside. Both of them have the color swatches of the paint on them, but it also states on the card that the color card was printed by a machine, so it may be a little different from actual colors. That is nice that they put that, because some artists might not know that. The bigger card is more of a thank you for buying the products and gives you the customer service, while the smaller card is a nice piece of artwork, which I like to see when I get art supplies because it could inspire you to do something along the lines of that or take inspiration from it in general. These also have the names of the colors in what I believe is Mandarin. However, I am not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive it is Mandarin, but please don't hold me up to that. If you do know what language it is, please let me know because I would like to know. I know this sounds weird, but I was excited to touch them from the top because I heard they're cool to the touch, and I just like the sensation, so yeah. Anyway, it was finally time for me to look at the cup, and let me tell you, I struggled extremely with trying to get just the first one out, and many more to come, so I actually had to take a pair of scissors for the first one and try and push it out, and even then, I didn't end up grabbing it in my hand, it just kind of popped out. I picked it up and brought it close to the camera because I wanted to take a nice close look at it. Majority of the cover is in another language, the only thing I could really read is Miya. The sides have these nice little edges in them, I'm guessing so it's easier to pull out, which it wasn't, but that's the thought that counts, right? Yet again, I struggled to do something, which is opening it up this time. But it's okay, because I got it open eventually, and I picked the perfect color to start out with, because it literally looks just like chocolate pudding. However, it is not chocolate pudding. We do not consume the paint. Please do not ever consume any form of paint. I'm begging you all. I kind of realized after putting back the first jelly cube how much difficulty I was going to have taking these out. So instead of suffering for however long, I decided to take the first cube back out and then take the entirety of the paints and flip them upside down on the table, which was probably one of the best ideas I've had. It required some jiggle, of course, to get some of the ones that were really stuck in there, but overall, it came out pretty alright. I even gave myself a thumbs up. Don't worry, I didn't leave it like that, it was irking me too. So I fixed it up, and I grabbed the paint tray, put the first one that I had already opened in there, and then proceeded to open and place every single one after. And let me tell you how opening each and every one of these was a very painful process. Not physically, but just like, man, I suck at either opening these or they were sealed really tight, which is good because that means that they're trying to keep their paints from leaking and also from going dry as soon as you get them. So I do appreciate that on their end that it was sealed so tight because it literally could have just been a big opened mess. It did take me about, I'm gonna say 30 minutes opening all of them because number one, there are so many. Number two, some of them were like deadass really hard to open. Like they took a minute. It also came with two whites, which I appreciate because I'm guessing a lot of gouache users use a lot of white to lighten up all the shades that they need, so it was nice that they included two. I only opened one of them, of course, because I don't want to open one up and waste it, so I'll leave it for when I run out of the white and I have a nice new one ready to go at that time. The best part about this, though, is looking at the colors and how pretty they are after spending all that time opening them up. I did take the case and try and cover it up to see what would happen, and the paint did get on the cushiony stuff, so I'll have to remember where I placed the covers so the paints don't mix, because I personally don't like that. Maybe some people don't care, but I do. I also tried out the handles, and it felt pretty secure, but I'm just like a really clumsy person, so I wouldn't hold it that way. I'd probably always hold it from the underside. It's also super easy to clean because the paints are water soluble, so literally just some water and napkin and then you can clean off the top, which is great for someone like me who really hates to see my stuff get dirty. Okay, so now it is the next day because it was already really late and I spent forever opening up the paints. So instead that night I went ahead and sketched up the thing that I wanted to paint for the next day, which I did take a different approach in my style because I have many different styles, so I just wanted to try this one out for the painting, and I really like the sketch, so I was kind of nervous to try and paint it because I didn't want to ruin it. Once again, I am explaining that I'm not a watercolor gouache person. In fact, I stink at it, and just take anything I say with a grain of salt because I have zero experience in this. No, that's a lie. I had one time where I tried gouache besides this, and it wasn't Jelly Gouache, it was just regular Arteza gouache. So, yeah. So what I did first was I kind of put down a washed or watered down layer of the colors that I wanted to use kind of as a guide for myself. So when I go ahead and build up the layers later on, I know what I want to put where. And let me tell you that I didn't think about how much layering this was going to truly take, but it did. So as a result, I don't know if I should have used better watercolor paper. Now, the one that I used is the Canson XL watercolor paper. Wait, let me make sure that's the one. Yeah, it is. It's the 9x12 paper that you could get at Walmart for like, I think $5, which is a great price for 140-pound paper. It's just thick enough for the watercolor. However, when using it, because I did layer so much and water down so much, the paper did buckle, so yeah. When it came to the painting, I actually was enjoying the process, like, a lot. The last time I painted anything serious or remotely serious was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I was really itching to paint again, so I was like, you know what, I'm actually enjoying this process a lot right now. I think probably the process, because it was my first time ever using Jelly Gouache, was a little bit of a mess for myself, especially because, like I said, I never used it before, but I had a good idea of what I was going to be doing anyway because of the drawing and because I've seen other artists use gouache before, so I kind of just like tried using them as an example for what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, the drawing slash painting that I did slash am doing on the screen was heavily inspired by the idea of Renaissance art, because I really like Renaissance art and I really wish I could do it, but I just don't think I got the brain for it. I think you have to think a certain way for it, and some people are just really good and they've practiced for so many years, and this is only my first try. So yeah, I tried my hardest to kind of give it that feel, but realistically, those paintings that Renaissance artists did probably took them years, and I did this in 3 hours. However, I am not discouraged to never try again. I will try again, and I will eventually learn how to paint in the style that I would like to, and maybe eventually I'll get there. When it came to the paints, they worked really nice, and I actually, like I said before, I enjoyed the process of using them. The only thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of was that because I was having the paint set out there for 3 hours, they began to kind of crust up at the top, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks because I don't want them to dry out. But the paints are really easily reactivated because they are water soluble. So just adding a little bit of water and then mixing them together will just make the paints like brand new again. So that's not a too big of an issue, but it just sucks that I'm gonna have to go back in and do that for every single color that I'm gonna use in the future. I gotta say though that probably the hardest part about working with gouache in general, not just Jelly Gouache, is that it's very easy to reactivate. So if you already have a layer that's dried up on the top and you add some water, it can thin out that layer and then, you know, kind of reactivate the paint that's under it. So when it comes to using gouache, I'm guessing you just have to be real careful about how you use the water when it comes to the paints, because if you use too much, it'll reactivate it. Too little, it won't move nicely along the page. It'll be kind of stiff. So I'm guessing you just have to find the right amount of water for what you're doing in your painting style. So I think I got a feel for that, but I'm still probably gonna try and practice it a little bit more until I understand the best way to do it for myself. But I do definitely like the painterly look, so it looks like you can see some of the brush strokes and that there's like a nice heavy amount of paint on there. It doesn't look too smooth because I already do a lot of smooth artwork, I guess, if you could say it that way, or like really blended out artwork when it comes to markers. So it's nice to do something different with another medium and kind of just like give myself that room to breathe with different art mediums. So like this will be messier, or like markers are neater. Line art is super neat because if you mess up line art, that sucks. I also want to note how like ugly paintings look until they're almost done, because the entire process is just building up to get to the final point of a painting. So the whole time I'm painting it, I'm like, man, this look ugly as hell. And I was like, it kind of do. And at the end, it wasn't the greatest painting ever, of course, because this is the first time I've painted in such a long time and with a medium that I'm very new to. But I really like it. I really like the outcome of the art. Are there things that could be better, like the eyes, the head shape, the whatever? Yes, of course, but I really am proud of this piece, and I really like his expression and everything like that. Yes, it's a him. I know he looks really girly, but that's okay. We could be whatever we want. Who cares? I just like how girly he looks, and it's really comforting and beautiful to see that too. I do wish I would have kept the background in like those rays of color instead that I have sketched out, but instead I kind of just blended up the reds that I used for the lips together and then put that in the background, which isn't bad, but like it looks a little like messy to me and I don't really like it too much. But it's okay. Like I said, I'm still trying to get my like brain wrapped around all this, but in the end I'm still really satisfied with the piece, and next time I'll kind of take note of that. Maybe I should try the rays of color instead, just to do something different. If I could say anything about these paints, they're awesome. They worked really well, and to a beginner like me when it comes to gouache, they made the process so like not scary. Kind of. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but sometimes you look at an art supply and you're like, oh man, that looks kind of scary to use because I don't know how to. They just kind of made it real nice and easy and like overall enjoyable. So here's the finished piece, and I really love him and I really love these paints, and I'm definitely going to try this again in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember, I love you. Bye.